Let's go live on YouTube. Here we go, live on YouTube.
Yes, we are.
Hey, we are. Awesome. So welcome everyone to today's Keptn community meeting. It is January 20th, 2020. That's actually a nice, if you look at it, it's a nice date, 2020. It's the first Keptn community meeting in the new year. I'm Andy Grabner. You have a couple of minutes in the beginning from me. The majority of the presentation will later be done by the team from aBOI, who sits there in the table in Berlin. Hi, guys.
Hello, Andy. Hi.
Hi. And there's also Andreas Grimmer, who I don't know actually where he sits right now. I'm not familiar with that meeting room, but I'm sure it's somewhere in Austria.
Hi, the first floor.
Yep. Oh, first floor. Okay, well, okay. So a couple of, I want to quickly highlight the agenda and some notes. As you can see, we always keep the community meeting notes on Google Docs. So feel free to also check it out later on. There's no spec changes today that we wanted to discuss. Also, there's no Keptn enhancement proposals. But as a reminder, folks, if you have any proposals for things you want to see in Keptn, the enhancement proposal is the way to go. Click on that link and you will find all the information, how you start a proposal and what we expect there to see. Now, before I go into the presentation, before I hand it over to Sebastian and team and Andreas, a couple of things we want to highlight in Outlook. So first of all, thanks to all of you for all the feedback on the 0.6 beta releases that we pushed out there end of last year. A lot of great feedback. Also, a special thanks to the folks at aBOI. A lot of these improvements actually made it into the final release, which will go out in the next couple of days. Then there's also going to be more, community meetings coming up. Obviously, what we try to do in the next couple of meetings, we always try to bring in external contributors that are actually, either implementing Keptn on their projects, like what we hear from aBOI today, or contributors, whether it is from our friends at Neotis, whether it's from our friends at Citrix that have contributed to Keptn. So check out what's coming there. Also, for those of you that are live today, I think you found the link. We changed the Zoom meeting link to a new webinar style, which means you can still enjoy, obviously, us live here, but you are not automatically enabled on audio and video. That just makes it easier for us because we can, keep the conversation a little more, let's say, controlled. If you have questions, there's a question feature in Zoom. So click on the Q&A button and please put in the questions. I will moderate them, which means also a heads up to you guys in Berlin and Andreas. If there are questions coming in, I will either throw them over to you, but I'll try not to interrupt you, only if I think it makes perfect sense right now. Otherwise, we'll also keep it to the end. I hope that's okay with you. Some last notes, we are live on YouTube as well. So there's a YouTube channel where this is going to be live streamed and obviously available later on. And the last but not least, for those of you that are still on, the previous Keptn releases, like a Keptn 05X, it's very important if you are installing a version like a 5.2, like here 0.5.2, you need to put the version field or the actual version on the command line to the --Keptn version option, because we've changed the way the Keptn CLI is doing install. It defaults to the version of your Keptn CLI. So if you want to install, or if you also want to do a configure domain from a previous version, you need to add this particular version to it. Okay, make sure that you don't forget that field. All right. Last remark, I guess you can read for yourself. Now, I want to hand it over to Sebastian and team in Berlin, who will give us an overview of I would say, kind of the first public project that is using Keptn. We want to learn more about, and that's what I'm interested in. I want to know what is actually, what does aBOI do? What is aBOI? Why did you select Kubernetes? Why do you select Keptn, and how does it really help you? And I think that's also going to be interesting for our audience out there to understand better what problems does Keptn really solve for you. This I want to hand over.
Perfect. Thank you, Andy, for the nice introduction, and thank you for the invitation to present our use case. And together with the team here, with Stefan and with Victor, we worked in the, I would say, last 3.5, 4 months really heavily, of course, with you together on Keptn, but of course as well on our use case. And this is what the presentation today is about. It's not only slides, it's as well as a technical presentation. And I think let's dive directly into it. So as you can see, we selected one of our solutions exactly for the first use case on Keptn. We want to show you today, and to understand what aBOI actually does for us and why it's important. A few words about the agenda. Okay, I think this is something like we will cover today to understand what aBOI does for us. We talk a little bit about what we are doing here at aBOI, and then we dive directly into the use case, look at the old existing architecture, take a look at the new one, and try to figure out if Keptn can solve all of our challenges. So. As you can see, we are, I would say, not a very large company. We are 200 people all over the globe, heavily focused in Europe, and with a few offices in the APAC region. And what we are doing, we are providing managed service for infrastructure. So we are talking about the network, we are talking about data center, we are talking about security solutions, and we are talking, of course, about collaboration solutions. And for this, we have all over the globe deployed a managed service team who is taking care 24/7 of the infrastructure of our customers. When you do and provide exactly these kind of services, something can go wrong with the infrastructure. And if something goes wrong, we need to escalate quickly, and we need to bring everyone quickly up to speed. And of course, we are doing it not in a physical space, we are doing it virtually, and we use collaboration solutions for this. And this is the reason why we created the service, and the service is called aBOI. And aBOI is something like a middleware. It's sitting between our ticket system, it's OTRS, it's an open source solution, and WebEx Teams. This is the main collaboration solution we are using in-house. And for top priority cases, so we are talking about high severity, priority 1, priority 2, where parts of the architectures of our customer is not working. We need to bring everyone in one room, and this is something we do with our aBOI solution. Of course, you know there are solutions out there where you can easily register a webhook, the room gets created, the message gets promoted. But what we actually want to achieve was bi-directional exchange. So we want to have single source of truth. Single source of truth should be always the ticket system, but we want to have something like functionality in the chat room that we can work together to the back to the ticket system. And you see a high-level overview, what kind of technologies will be involved. I show you on the next slide. So, and we built the application, I would say, 2.5 years ago. And 2.5 years ago, we tried to leverage all the cool stuff that was at this point available for us in our team. As you can see, every part of the service actually runs in Docker container. So we are leveraging a lot of stuff from the AWS cloud. We are using the RDS database. We are using Elasticache, what is provided as a service. And as you can see, I would say the architecture was quite okay, quite nice. But what we saw as well is with all of our customers, we are talking about, yeah, we're using aBOI to solve your challenges faster. They said, oh, this is really nice. I want to have this as well. And if we have an escalation going on, would this be possible that we are invited as well? And then we saw, okay, our aBOI solution, quite cool. How's it right now? Solves all of our challenges. But what we see, we need maybe an aBOI for each customer, and each customer has slightly a different feature set. So one customer has a very, very large IT organization with a lot of sub-teams. So, and then we need something like additional logic in the aBOI solution. And of course, we don't want to work on similar, but nearly the same project. So we looked out if we find something better than the existing architecture we had in place. As I mentioned, aBOI runs on an EC2 instance. Everything is in Docker containers. So we had for the deployment, we are using GitLab as a code repo and leveraging CI/CD functionality with a lot of GitLab runners. We are using Ansible and we are using Terraform. So I would say the technology that's in place is really, really cool. But if we are talking about to bring this to more customers with the same code repo, it could be a little bit difficult. What we see as well, it's not really scalable. So we need to make the EC2 instance bigger and bigger and bigger. So this is something that we don't want to do in the future. And of course, if we are talking about the real cool deployment features like blue-green and canary deployment, maybe we can do it with the existing architecture, but it would be a lot of additional, I would say, pipeline work that we need to involve. And now we are coming to the biggest con of our solution. If we are talking about we want to bring aBOI to a lot of our customers, maybe to all of our customers, there would be a lot of pipelines involved, and there needs to be a better solution out there. And to give you a better understanding, if we are talking about one aBOI deployment, that is what is currently in place, or what we did before we started the project together with the Keptn guys. We had the project, and one project is a lot of combined pipelines. We have these kind of GitLab CI/CD steps, we have the Ansible steps, and then we have, of course, the Terraform steps. And this is something like the combined pipeline. And if we are talking about the pipeline steps I mentioned, and we now want to bring it to more and more customers, we would have something like this formula, and in the end we need something like a dedicated person who's just working on the pipelines. We are here at Avodac, at the software development team, 15 people, and it would not work this way because we have, of course, other solutions and services we are working on, and we can't hire a new additional pipeline engineer every time we want to bring out a new service. So there needs to be a better solution out there. And maybe, as you all know, the Kubernetes bandwagon is, I think it's a really hot topic, not only for us, for all of our customers. Everyone is talking about. And of course, we took a look at the solution as well and said, maybe this could be something for us. I see something like Parallels back in the days when VMware and virtualization finally took off. It was something like the platform was over. Everyone decided, okay, this will be the next platform, and all of our applications should be developed exactly on this platform. And then we took a look and found some really cool things about it. Every public cloud vendor is offering a Kubernetes solution. We already have the state management integrated in the solution. So if something goes wrong in the hardware, on the underlying hardware, Kubernetes is taking care of this as well. We have the integrated scaling if the workload is going up. And what we saw as well is great platform add-ons like Helm and Istio are available. And the reason why I think, or we are thinking that these kind of cool platform add-ons are now developed at such a speed, it's because Kubernetes seems to be the clear winner. And for us, I think this was something like the main decision. Okay, we need to go into Kubernetes because it's the future, the platform of the future, quite cool. But what we saw as well, it solves not all of our challenges. If we are looking at these kind of blue-green deployments, if we are looking at the pipeline complexity or the auto-remediation things that are going on outside right now, it's not really possible with Kubernetes alone. And this is the reason why we looked even further. And on one Perform event in Singapore, I was in contact with Andy Grabner, and he talked to me and said, yeah, maybe we have a solution for this. And this was something like the informal kickoff exactly for the aBOI project to run it on Kubernetes managed by Keptn. And that what we want to show you today is that we actually implemented this. So we have right now an aBOI running on Kubernetes managed by Keptn in 2 stages. We're using production and staging, obviously. We will deploy a new feature, and we will see that the new feature is directly deployed to the staging environment. And in the background, before we promote it to production, we will see some internal and integrated tests. And hopefully everything in the feature is developed really cool, and we can promote it automatically to the live environment. And this is something we will see and we will cover today. So Let's take a look. As I mentioned, we are using WebEx Teams, so it's a collaboration solution that's very similar to Slack or Microsoft Teams, whatever you use in your organization. And as you can see, we created 2 rooms for preparation. One room is with the staging environment, and one is with the production environment. And now I will show you. I will trigger the bot. The bot, of course, will send out automatically messages and create rooms if we have an incident with the high priority. Right now, we don't have an incident with high priority, but we can check this as well because we provided a help, and it would be possible to trigger the system even if we have no high priority case going on in the background. And if you can see, I triggered a bot. It's something like you see in various chat ops interfaces. I just ask for the help. And I do the same in the live system. And we will see that we get back exactly the same amount of features. So, and now what we want to do is exactly what I described earlier on the slide. We want to deploy a new version that is directly deployed to the staging environment. And then we will see that some tests will take place in the background. And in the time we wait, I will hand over to Andreas Grimmer. He will tell us a little bit more about Keptn and how you can use Keptn and nice other features that you actually can pull off if you leverage Keptn as a management platform for Kubernetes. And to actually deploy a new feature, I prepared everything here. You work with the Keptn bridge through this CLI interface, and of course we generated all the images in our container registry. The container registry is the container registry of GitLab, and the tag of the new image is feature, where we want to show off the new feature for deployment. So as you can see, maybe in the background, we connected Keptn as well with our WebEx Teams platform. And now you can see a configuration change was detected. We will see if the command is finished, and then we will quickly check out if the command is now working in the staging environment, and we will check again in the live environment if the command is still not available, and then I will hand over to Andreas.
Hey, and Sebastian, as while we're waiting here, just a quick reminder for everyone that is in attendance. If you have any questions, please put them into the Q&A field of the Zoom meeting. A couple of questions already came in. Also, you can also use the chat feature. You can send it directly to me. I got a couple of questions, but I will keep them to the end probably, as I don't want to interrupt your flow, but I thought now is a perfect time to remind folks.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. We will have a Q&A session in the end, but if something is coming up that makes sense to answer during the talk, please feel free to show the message to us. What we see, we got another event from Keptn. The deployment is finished, and now it should be available in the staging environment. As you can see, I triggered the bot once again. We're waiting for the reply, and then you see we will maybe showcase this use case as well on the perform event. We put in another command. Really cool. Now we will check out if it's available in the prod environment as well, and it should be not, because it's not promoted right now. Yeah, you can see this, and now we will wait for the tests that run in the background against our SLIs and defined SLOs. And if we match the tests, the feature will be promoted to the live environment. And with this, I will jump back to the presentation and actually hand over to you, Andreas. And you just give me, please, a sign if I should tick forward a slide. And yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Really cool, because we already have seen now Keptn using for making a new deployment. So you push the new version, which had a tag called feature, And now I would like to explain you what's really happening in the underground, what Keptn is doing for you. So let's get started at a really, really high level. And therefore I will explain you what is Keptn in one sentence. So Keptn is an event-based control plane for continuous delivery and automated operations for cloud-native applications. So Keptn provides you therefore a set of events which allow you to model the processes in continuous delivery and also for automated operations. And Keptn is unique compared to pipelines, compared to Terraform scripts, and so on. And now I would like the next slide, please. So again, please. Because Keptn gives you a scriptless delivery and operations. What does that mean? Without to write a single line of pipeline code, you get out of the box blue-green deployments, also automated operations, and so on. And of course, the descriptions can be shared across a number of microservices, so you can reuse them. And here we are separating the concerns between site reliability engineers, DevOps, and devs. So site reliability engineers are mostly responsible for the process. For example, they have the need to add a further stage which can be used for security checks. The second group, the DevOps, are mainly responsible in Keptn for having a great tooling available. For example, using Gmeter or Neonode as test tools. And finally, the devs can really focus on their artifacts, providing new artifacts, new features, and then get instant feedback on these artifacts. Next slide, please. So, and therefore we are using an event-based automation approach. So our events are JSON objects, and these JSON objects follow the so-called cloud events specification. And having such an event-based mechanism really allows you a simple integration of new tools, because you simply have to register on a type of event, and then your service gets triggered and this service can execute its actions. Next. And finally, having the set of events also allows you to trace the events which are necessary for doing the deployment, for doing the operation stuff. And this set of events can be visualized in the bridge. And finally, you get a full observability, what has been deployed, what has been tested, and so on. Okay, and now, before we have seen how we can trigger Keptn having a new artifact, and now I show you on a really high level how this continuous delivery process really works on Keptn. So here we have, we got triggered, or Keptn got triggered by having a new artifact available. This can be done using our CLI, as Sebastian did it, but it can also be done using the REST API Keptn provides you. As first step, we update the respective configuration. In your case, you have a deployment, a Kubernetes deployment in the background, and here we are setting the new image, and then this new deployment will be stored in the Git repo. Then Keptn takes care or sends out an event which says, hey, please update the environment so that it now represents the new, or it now uses the new image. Here you can see that we are replacing one service with a blue-green deployment. So we still have two versions. And as next step, we can now trigger our tests, which are Gmeter tests. And these Gmeter tests run performance tests and will produce metrics. And the metrics then are, of course, monitored either by Dynatrace, Prometheus, or Neotus. And Keptn allows you to validate this metrics using a so-called lighthouse service. And we will see details how this will work in the next slide. But finally, the lighthouse service gets back an evaluation result. This can be successful, warning, or failed. And if it's failed, Keptn triggers a rollback to the old version, or in case it's good, we can repeat those steps for the other stages. Perfect. And as you see, the core of this continuous delivery process is really the built-in quality gate. And with this quality gates, we can automate quality checks. Next slide, please. And this is really essential because in a cloud native world, you have multiple deployments per day, and it's simply impossible to do this quality checks by hand. So you need a way to automate the quality checks. And here Keptn uses well-known concepts. First, it allows you to define service level indicators. And this service level indicators can be metrics like the response time, error rate, CPU usage, but also infrastructure and business metrics. And using these SLIs then allows you to define SLOs. Perfect. And these SLOs can be compared against fixed thresholds, but also against previous runs of your deployment process. And technically, this is really easy because Keptn's Lighthouse service evaluates these SLOs and queries the SLIs from Dynatrace, Prometheus, and Mutus. It's up to you which SLI provider you're using. And on the next slide, now we will get or we will see how such a SLO can be formulated. We are using, as it is common in the cloud native world, YAML for formulating the SLOs. And here our first version is 1.0 of these SLOs. Then as next configuration, you can specify the comparison strategy. Here we are using a single result, which means we compare against the result of the previous run. And then we are already ready to define the SLIs. SLIs are service level indicators, and here our first SLI is the response time. And more detailedly, we're using the 95th percentile. And this SLI can then be used to define criteria. And here you can always differentiate between a pass and a warning. So everything is fine. We get a pass if the response time is below 200 milliseconds. We get a warning if the response time is below 500 milliseconds. So this is our first SLI. Next. The next SLI shows us the SQL statements. And now we are comparing whether this this SQL statements change. So we get a pass if the SQL statements did not change at all, comparing the previous run with the current deployment. And we are accepting it as a warning if we only have a relative change of plus minus 5%. Cool. Now, maybe this looks a little bit abstract. Let's see how Keptn does the emulation. And here we go through an example using the grading here on the right side. If the value is between 200, we get a pass. And for each pass, we get 1 point. For a warning, we always get half a point. And this is similar to the SQL statement. And now on the next animation, we really get the overall objective, which is used to evaluate all SLIs and as the all objectives. So we get a pass if the overall we get a pass if we have 90% of the overall points which are possible, and we get the warning if 75 of the overall possible points are reached. So now let's have a look at the example, which makes it really easy to understand. Let's assume the response time is 400 milliseconds, and you can see 400 milliseconds does not fulfill the pass criteria, but it fulfills the warning criteria. Therefore, we get 0.5 points. However, the SQL statements did not change at all. It always stayed the same, and therefore we get 1 point out of this. So in total, we can reach at most 2 points. And in this example, we have 1.5 point, which overall gives us 75%, which is a warning in our case. Perfect, next slide. So now you have seen what's going on in the background. So we will see this afterwards in your live presentation, how these SLOs are used. And now I would like to hand over back to you.
As you can see, we got another Keptn event. As you see, the evaluation did not pass. Thanks, Victor, for unmuting me.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, as you can see, what Andreas described, the test took place in the background, and it didn't pass. So what should actually happen to the interface? If we are looking in the staging environment, the command should be still available because it was a direct deployment. We will figure this out in a sec. And then we will check against the live environment, the prod environment, if the old version is still running. Let's do this here quickly. As you can see, it's still the old version. The new command is missing. What we want to do now, we want to try with a different version. We of course prepared beforehand, and we will trigger the CLI once again, but this time with another tag that we are pulling another image from our container registry. This time we are not taking the git commit with the registry, the image with the tag feature. Now we are taking the image with the tag fixed, and we will start and trigger the deployment once again. And now, as you can see in the background, Keptn detected another configuration change, and now we will run exactly to the same setup. In staging, the new image is directly deployed, and the command will be still accessible. But now, hopefully, our new deployment will pass the SLIs and the SLOs and will get promoted in the end to the live environment. And with this, I think I will hand over back to Andreas, and you talk a little bit more about the details. Am I right?
You're right. So can you enter the full screen of slide 24, please?
Of course. I think it's loading.
So a quick recap of what we have seen. We now have seen Keptn doing automatic deployments, and therefore we are using also this concept of quality gates. But this is not enough. So Keptn also provides functionality for doing automatic remediations. So, and this is the use case when there is already the aBOI application, for example, in production, and for example, you see that a problem occurred. So next animation, please. So for those who are using Dynatrace, you're definitely familiar with problem events which occur when Dynatrace automatically detects a problem. For those who are Prometheus users, you also are probably aware of the alert concept. And this, either in case of a problem or an alert, this can trigger Keptn. And based on this problem event, we can look up whether the user-defined remediation action, which should be executed in production in order, for example, to heal the application. So the first step is looking up in the Git repo whether there is a defined remediation action, and if so, we will execute this remediation action. What you can see here visualized is a simple rollback of one service from version 2 to version 1. But here you can be creative. You can toggle a feature flag. You can scale up your deployments. You can restart pods, clear disks, or as I noted here, you can simply automate your operation task. And after this, we, of course, re-evaluate the quality gate, whether it is, again, met or not. And we can also wait here whether Dynatrace closed the problem or Prometheus closed the alert. And this revalidation is done using the Lighthouse service. And if this is the case, we can either inform the users via Slack or the WebEx channel that the problem was solved, or we can escalate in case it is not solved yet. So this is also now, or the automatic remediation use case was now the second part Keptn addresses. You can again see this is really similar to the first use case. All this kind of communication here happens using events, and your custom services can listen to these events and can act based on these events. So now I would like to hand over to you again, to Berlin, because you will now.
Yeah, perfect. Then, okay, perfect. Thanks for the explanation what Keptn can do for us, and now a few what Keptn actually has done for us. If we're looking at the challenges I talked about earlier, so we are actually achieving this kind of scriptless delivery for operations. So as you can see, we just triggered with one CLI command, and as Andreas correctly stated, in the end, how we use it here, we are not triggering this with CLI. We connected our GitLab code repository with a webhook, and if we are committing new code to the right branch, then automatically a new build will get triggered, and the new build will be automatically deployed by Keptn. And we have these kind of blue-green deployments and canary deployments we already saw, because the one version that was obviously with a bug didn't get promoted to production. And we have we have less pipeline work involved. This is what we actually want to achieve. What we saw as well, and this is something we discovered during the process, working on the project, the separation of concerns. Of course, we in our team, it's quite a small team, we have these kind of roles already in place, but before, if we ran in some errors and some challenges in our staging or in our production environment, we need to have something like an all-hands situation. Everyone need to come to one virtual or physical table and fix the pipeline, fix all these steps. And now we have exactly these kind of separation of concerns. The developer can clearly focus on the features, on the artifacts, delivering great new additional features for our product, and is not longer involved in the overall pipelining work. And what we saw as well is the event-based extensibility of Keptn. As you can see, these kind of messages, what is Keptn doing to our environment? We provided an add-on. We were contributed to the Keptn project with our team during the work on this, and it was really, really easy. And I encourage everyone in the audience and everyone who likes to work and with Keptn that you contribute to the project as well. And last but not least, we have this kind of observability. For me, it's transparency. I, in my role as a manager, want to know what's going on in the development team, what kind of environments they're working on, and I'm most interested in, are we running in some kind of errors? Is there something where we need to take action? And this is clearly achievable with Keptn and all these kind of automated remediations and automated messages. What we will see now, we will go back to the demo and see if the deployment went through. successfully. And then if it's not the case, we will go to the Q&A session. I can imagine that even if we have no questions from the audience, that Andy Grabner has some questions for us, and then we will see how we move forward from this. Let's check out the environment, and let's check out what kind of messages we did get from Keptn in the background. So, this looks actually quite promising. We saw an evaluation that's done. Let's check out the staging environment once again if we have the new comment, and then let's check out prod if we got the new comment there as well. So this looks quite promising. Now we're going to the production and see if the new command is available here as well. No?
No, it takes 2 more minutes because we have the canary deployment.
It's actually there.
1 second. Oh yeah, it's already there.
Okay, so maybe I just hit the send button and perfectly the right nanosecond. So I would say the deployment went successfully through, and now we can move to the Q&A session if there are questions from the audience. Otherwise, Andy, of course, I guess you have some ideas, some questions for us.
Yeah, that's actually, well, first of all, thank you for a great combination of kind of explaining us who you are, what aBOI is, why you decided on Kubernetes, why Keptn, and then also Andreas Grimmer for giving a background of the main 2 use cases. Sebastian, the first thing actually, there's a couple of questions that came in. And can you do me a favor? Can you go back to your WebEx Teams client? Because I think for some, it was not obvious how you actually saw that there is a different version deployed. I think in the help, in the output, there's one additional comment that is possible, right? It's called dynatrace perform. I think some people were maybe, it was too fast for them. It's like, how do you know this is a new version? So this was just one thing that people,
Thanks for clarifying. Exactly. Look at the last message of the help command, and if there showed up additional command. For us, we are working with the solution for quite a few months, and we know exactly where to look. But I can imagine it's just a bunch of text, a bunch of messages that's flown in. So thanks for mentioning it. Yeah.
So because basically, if I can rephrase, you had one version deployed in the beginning. Then you tried to deploy a new version that was called feature, and that feature version was no good, right? It was basically stopped in staging because it had bad performance or problems, therefore it was never updated. And then you brought in another version, which was called fixed. This made it through staging and then automatically promoted into production, which is why we are now seeing the new features capabilities also in production environment. So that was great. Sebastian, a couple of questions that came in the beginning, and I tried to organize the questions based on topic. The first question is aBOI the first project for you where you're looking into Kubernetes, or have you had previous experience with Kubernetes?
So actually, this was our first project on Kubernetes. So we talked in the team, I would say, for 1.5 years about it. So we say, yeah, this could be future solution because we saw our costs on AWS was rising more and more, EC2 instances. Is there a better way? We were already containerized, so it was something like the obvious choice. Then we saw all of our customers are jumping on Kubernetes as well, and we know we need to go there, but we saw we will, if we just opting for Kubernetes, we will bring in additional complexity, and we don't know how to handle it. So, and this was something where we looked for a solution, how we can handle the complexity in the end and getting the benefits of Kubernetes. And it seems like that Keptn was and still is a good answer, as you can see how easy, if everything is set up and everything is in place, how you can pull exactly this kind of cool new features regarding blue-green and canary deployments and all this kind of cool new stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's also a good point. You said, once everything is set up, because obviously you didn't show how to create a project and how to onboard a service. I mean, you mentioned that there's no pipeline anymore because everything is declarative, as Andreas said. Because there's a couple of questions that came in. So how do you define the stages? If folks are interested in more on how does Keptn work, just go to keptn.sh or go to the GitHub repo. We have tutorials that walk you through the whole process. It is super easy. Within 5 minutes, you are up and running, and you will really see there's no pipelines per se anymore, where you have to define what should happen in each individual stage. Sebastian has another question. Again on Kubernetes, have you decided on a managed Kubernetes service already? Have you decided on a cloud vendor, and if so, why?
So I would say we are still open to it. Right now we are on a Google Kubernetes engine, but as you know from my introduction, we are still infrastructure heavy, and most of our customers are still infrastructure heavy. They are using Kubernetes in their own data centers with some support from Cisco and other vendors and all these kind of stuff. So we as a development team in this space needs them to be open. So there are some customers who opted for Azure. There are some customers who opted from AWS. Some are open, and we just can say, yeah, use whatever suits you. And we keep our eyes open regarding this.
Perfect. Then maybe the question, the next to Andreas, kind of following up on this, is that does Keptn support all flavors of Kubernetes, or where can we find what Kubernetes flavors are supported? So
Keptn is designed for running on Kubernetes, you're right, and you can see a list of tested environments on our website, which is called keptn.sh. But we support the all big Kubernetes engines like Google, Azure, AWS, OpenShift. So we support pretty much everything. Perfect. Yeah, and as you just said, just go to the website and everything is there. Next question goes back to the guys in Berlin. It seems it's from somebody that has experience with Keptn. So Keptn is using Helm. Have you used Helm before, or did you have to move your deployment scripts to Helm? And if you had to move it, what did you use before?
So I would hand over this question to Stefan. The quick answer is we didn't use Helm before. And now, we will get some details from Stefan.
Yeah. Okay. So when we get started with Kubernetes, there was also Helm involved, and so we had some basic knowledge about Helm and how you have to structure your folder and where do you have to put all your charts for Kubernetes to be ready. And at the end, if you prepared your charts for all the resources you need to deploy in Kubernetes, then it's not hard to just switch to Helm. It's just another, you have just to structure your folder at the end. So that's not the real problem. Yeah. Okay, very good. I think the next three questions go to Andreas. You talked about the event-based integration of tools. Is there a list of tool integrations available? And if so, where can we find them? So a list of tool integrations can be found in our Keptn contrib organization. Here you can find different services. Each of these services has a README MD, and this README will explain you what the service is doing and which events it is listening to. So you can find all those tools on Keptn contrib. Perfect, and I think that's the keptn-contrib for contributions. So you will find it there. The next one, kind of a follow-up questions. How can I write my own Keptn service? And I guess the question is, are there any tutorials or maybe templates available? That's a perfect question, because we would like to motivate you to write your own service. And yes, we do have templates available and explanations available. And therefore, again, I would like to refer you to keptn.sh. Then you can find point docs, tutorials, and then write your own Keptn service. But technically, I can also answer this question because it's simple as listening to HTTP post requests, and then you get the information inside the event, process it, and execute the action, and that's it. Perfect. One more for you, Andreas. Different topic now, but in your quality gate example that you showed, you had a sample SLO file.
So it was good, but the question was, where are these SLIs defined? So you had two examples, the database example and I think the response time, but where are the SLIs defined? Because you just had a logical name. Are these hard-coded or are we flexible?
So Keptn provides out of the box some default metrics like the response time median or the 90 or 95 percentile or the error rate. But you can also define your own SLIs. And these SLIs then live in the GitHub repository because we are following such an approach that everything lives in Git. And here you can use your Prometheus queries or your Dynatrace queries. So you basically in Dynatrace, you can query the complete API, and in Prometheus, you can simply define your own queries.
Mm-hmm. And folks, if you're interested on the Dynatrace side, I have a performance clinic where I talked about the calculated service metrics, which was a performance clinic where I also talked about the new metrics V2 API. And I actually had examples in there how you can enrich the Keptn quality gates with metrics from Dynatrace. Next question goes back to Berlin. We heard about that Git is supported. What Git repo or what Git derivative are you guys using?
We are using GitLab here. So, and we are hosting it actually ourselves. So we have some clients who are requesting that we're doing the code stuff and the code manage hosting in-house. So it runs on our own data center.
Perfect.
I would have a follow-up question here.
Yeah.
If I'm allowed to interrupt you, can you show it? Can you show what Keptn manages?
Yeah, of course. Should I share? Or?
Yeah, maybe it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I will hand over the screen.
Yeah.
Perfect. And maybe while you hand it over, just one more question. Going forward, what are the next things you guys would like to see in Keptn? What are the next big things you need?
I would say the next thing is clearly feature flags.
Feature flags. Mm-hmm.
Feature flags.
Is it already shared?
I think now it's shared.
Yeah.
Okay. So actually, this is the Keptn repo. You need to provide this when you set up a project with Keptn, and then Keptn will go to the repository and will automatically create. If you need to give a shipyard file. So maybe I can just show this 1 second, maybe, or do we have?
Yeah,
okay.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is the shipyard file. So you just define your stages you want to have, and you need to define your deployment strategy and your test strategy. As you can see, for our project, we have just 2 stages, staging and prod. And the deployment strategy for the staging stage is actually direct, and the other one is blue-green. So we have a canary deployment running there. And if you create a project with the shipyard file, Keptn will automatically give you 2 additional branches, which are then prod and staging. And then you can jump into staging, and you will have your services here. So in our case, we have 3 services for the project, and it will pick up the Helm charts. It will pick up the JMeter tests, and it will also pick up the SLIs and SLOs. So in Helm, it's typical. So you have the template folder with charts and values. I won't go in detail here, but it's typical Helm folder structure, and we can take a look, for example, at the SLI file. In our case, it looks like this. So it's again a YAML file, and you have some custom queries which you have to define beforehand, or the default ones will be the first 5 lines here. So you have the throughput, the error rate, response time with the different percentiles. And then, of course, you can specify your own metrics if you leverage from the Dynatrace calculated metrics, then you can define them in Dynatrace and you can pick them up via the API, and then you can use them as the SLIs. So was this detailed enough for the one who asked the question, or any more information needed?
No, I think you covered a couple of questions in one go.
Okay.
So that was very good. But actually, one question just comes in. What version of Keptn is this? Are you ready? You're on 6 or 06?
We are on 0.6.0 beta 2. So,
but I have good news for you, because the Keptn team is working on upgrade instructions, how you get your 0.6 beta 2 to 0.6. So this will be easy.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. And maybe a follow-up that I forgot to mention, that we talked about the next community meeting, the Keptn community meeting on February 3rd. On February 3rd, we will actually dedicate that community meeting to the 0.6 GA. So we'll give you a detailed overview of everything that is in that release. So that's going to be a good overview for people that are new or for those that want to upgrade. Awesome. And it seems you have some nice dashboards here, as you're on it, right? I mean, if you want to show off.
Of course. So this is one we prepared with you together, Andreas, when you visited us. So this is how it looks like if you monitor with Dynatrace and combine it with Keptn. So you can have something like this.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, I think this is also now with the 06 GA, we actually took these dashboards and are now automatically creating a dashboard in Dynatrace for every project. We automatically get a management zone in Dynatrace. You automatically get the alerting set up correctly. And there's a lot of great stuff that went in from the engineering team to automate a lot of the stuff that we initially had to do manually. It's really cool. I think that's it. I think I went through, let me see, I think pretty much all the questions. Yeah. And thank you so much to Berlin, to 3 floors down where I'm sitting, Andreas, and also Jürgen, who helped us also, set up the whole infrastructure, because we moved over to Zoom webinar. And this is really great. Thanks for the contribution. And I'm very happy to see you in 2 weeks in Vegas, where you guys are going to present this Perform at our conference on stage. Very good. With that, I think we're good with the recording. And we were live on YouTube. This is also really cool.
Yes, thanks for all the watchers on YouTube and also participants in this meeting.
Thank you. See ya.
Thanks.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.